What's going on? How's everybody doing? This is the Sports Counterpoints podcast. Today is January 28th, 2026. I'm GB. I got Brian and Coop with me. What's going on, my guys?
Hey,
Hey, all right.
Let's get to it, man. We got a AFC and NFC Championship recap. We got some coaching hires that happened. Bill Belichick does not make the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, which I think is interesting to everybody. And then we'll get to the Super Bowl preview in a week or so once we get a little closer to the game. I'm actually I'm on location from the home of the NFC champions out in Seattle. That was a shot to Coop. He don't really care. So let's keep it let's keep it moving.
Right.
Talking about actually, let's start with NFC, man. Coop, two of your, I guess, rivals play in the same game. For one of them to have the chance to play the Super Bowl at your home field. Give me your take on the game.
Man, it was a really good game. Could have went either way. I guess the game came down to at the end where the Rams kept going for it on fourth down, the red zone, and just could not punch it in. People are criticizing them for not going for a field goal, but the way their defense was playing that game, I absolutely thought it was the right move. No team could really stop each other, but if anybody could stop somebody, it would have been Seattle's defense. I got to give it up to the pass protection on both teams, man. It was excellent on both sides. These guys had a lot of time to throw, and they were making plays. But at the end of the day, and I've said it all season, the Rams secondary is just bad. It's just not good. And this was the best game. I don't forgot what the coordinator is for Seattle. I think he's Clint Kubiak or something. But this
And
was the
Kubiak.
best game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Clint Kubiak is called, and the best game I've ever seen Sam Darnold play because the plays that Kubiak were calling were correct almost every single time. And Sam Darnold, he was out there dealing, man. He was throwing the ball with confidence in a big game that he usually stinks up. But I mean, got to give him credit, man. He did his thing out there. Second down, first, second, third down, no matter what down it was, he was throwing downfield, hitting receivers. JSN was abusing their secondary. So it was a good win for Seattle. I'm not surprised they won. I just thought the Rams would win because they usually just beat Seattle and find a way. But I did notice this was the third time they played. Seattle was horrible the first game,
Yeah.
especially in the pass game. In the second game, their pass game got a little bit better and they were close to winning, but they were a little bit better. And in this game, it seems like they figured out how to finally beat the Rams defense in the passing game, and they did their thing. And then on the flip side, the Rams, I don't think this is a bad loss for them. I mean, Seattle is a good team, but their special teams and their secondary has been their Achilles heel all season. Uh, I didn't know Devontae Adams went 0 for 5 in championship games. I don't think that's all on him, but that was an
Yeah.
interesting stat to
No,
me.
it's not, but
But
yeah, that is tough.
yeah, but I mean, hey, I mean, Seattle won. I mean, they might win the Super Bowl, and good for them, good win for them. B, what you think about it?
Levi's. Yeah. Final
yeah,
score 31-27. Rams over the Seattle over the Rams. Go ahead,
we
B.
can pretend like I won't be saying that Seattle's going to win the championship until next week. But look, this was one of my favorite games to watch all year. I mean, if you think about it, you had two of the best teams, the two teams that I think for most of the season I thought were the two best teams in the NFL, fighting it out. It was good all the way around. You had a likely MVP performance in Matt Stafford playing at an MVP level where he threw for 374 yards and three touchdowns. And I think this part is interesting, 127.6 rating, quarterback rating. He had Sam Darnold throwing for 346 yards, three touchdowns, and 127.8 rating. The difference between the two quarterbacks from a metric percentage was zero point 0.2. That's how good both of them were playing and how well they played throughout the game. This was two very good players playing exceptionally well. Darnold, this was the most yards that he had thrown for all year. This is the most yards he'd thrown for without an interception. That kind of goes without saying. And he just looked like a technician. It looked like the game had slowed down for him, and it slowed down for him in his biggest moment, which had always been a doubt about him as to whether or not he could play in a big game in a big moment. And he showed up big time. That wasn't without help. He had JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who had 153 yards in his one touchdown, and Stafford had Puka Nacua, who had 165 in his one touchdown. So this is one of those situations where the veterans and the stars showed up and played. Actually, I think it's also worth mentioning that Cooper Kupp, the Seattle Seahawks veteran who came from LA Rams, got his one touchdown,
At
and
home.
yeah, at home. And Devontae Adams was the veteran performer for the Rams, who was kind of there to replace Cooper Kupp, and he had a similar game and got the other one of the other touchdowns for the Rams. So people were just showing up all over the place. The thing that is interesting to me, and the reason that I thought that the Seahawks would win this game, was because they had the best defense in the league. Now, for the first 3 quarters, they looked like just another defense. But in the fourth quarter, both of these defenses stiffened up, and a game that was 31-27 going into the fourth quarter stayed 31-27 in the fourth quarter, which made it so that if you wanted to see a defensive battle, you got to see that at the end. If you wanted to see an offensive juggernaut, you got to see that for 3 quarters. There wasn't much to look for in a football game that you didn't get in this game. It was just fun to watch. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. The Seattle Seahawks pulled it off. I thought they would, and the reason I thought they would is because the defense was able to do what they've been trying to do, what they've been able to accomplish all season, which was make a huge stop and a huge moment, which they did at the goal line for when they stopped Stafford.
Yeah, heck of a game. Really, really good one. And then on the other side with the AFC, close scoring game, but not much scoring at all. Broncos lose to the Patriots 10-7 in a game that started out clear and got snowier and snowier over time. B, you start on this one.
Yeah. So in this one, it was kind of a pick your blizzard, right? So everyone was talking about how bad the weather was in Denver, but at the same time, the weather would have been worse had the Raiders not beat the Patriots in the first game of the season. They would have been playing in New England, and they would have got a whole different type of blizzard. This is exactly the kind of game you expect in that kind of weather. It was low scoring. It was hard fought. There were missed field goals everywhere because wind was knocking things in different directions. Picking the direction later it actually made a big difference. People's game plans changed because of they were either going with or against the wind, and that made it a little bit kind of tactically interesting for me. You're right. This didn't score. There wasn't a lot of scoring here. Ultimately, Jarrett Stidham is not the reason they lost this game, right? He did have a pick, but he threw for 133 yards, which was damn near double what Drake May threw for. And so, this was just one of those games where everyone had to buckle up. Field goal cooking and inclement weather was ultimately the difference in this one, because I think, and I'd have to look it up, but I'll check right now. I believe that each team, Denver, who lost, went 0 for 2, and Andy Borregales for New England went 1 for 3. The difference between the game was 3 points. So it was just, who could actually get a ball to go through the uprights in this weather. Jason, what were your thoughts?
I'm not going to say much about this game except Sean Payton not going for a field goal in that type of game with your backup quarterback playing for a chance to go Super Bowl.
Sean Payton?
Sounded
Sean
like
Payton.
he did.
I was like, damn.
Yeah,
I know he acting like a coach, but damn.
Yeah, I couldn't understand that. I mean, I just could not. I get being aggressive, but this is week 7 of the season, but this is the chance to go to play to the Super Bowl. You got to take points whenever you can, because you got to think points are going to be in the premium when those two teams play. But they still had a chance to win. Thankfully, Denver covered the 6-point spread, so I wasn't mad at all because I'm not a fan of either team. But I mean, I guess good for the Patriots. I didn't expect Drake May and Mike Vrabel in the Super Bowl this season, but looks like it's going to happen.
Let me ask you guys real quick as we talk about the weather. Are you guys who think, oh man, the weather was great, tactical advantage, this is what football's about? Or would you like, hey, they should play in a dome, let's see the best team win?
Personally, me. Oh, go ahead, B.
I think I don't know about that certainly is a tactical advantage, and it certainly makes a difference, right? There is a long history. I know Jason's talked about this of dome teams going into these types of environments and underperforming. Soon there will be very few teams that are not in a dome. That advantage will even loom larger. But this is a business. Fans are what spend the money. And fans do not want to spend large sums of money to go watch games in this type of weather. Sure, you can sell out a stadium, but you cannot sell out the stadiums at the same price point, because the super gritty fans, the ones who are going to go to that game, they're going to they're people who don't tend to spend that kind of big money on a game. The people who spend big money on a game will want to be indoors and have those food options and all those other good things.
Cool.
Yeah, I think all games should be played on grass. Unfortunately, yeah, weather comes into play. I don't really like the domes because I think it's an advantage for dome teams to have, I guess, fast players on their team. You have fast players, you play in a dome, that makes them a little bit faster. With Indianapolis, I think when the New Orleans won the Super Bowl, I think they had home field the entire time, and the Super Bowl was actually played in New Orleans, so it kind of played in their favor. Not saying they cheated or whatever to win. I mean, they won the games, but it kind of plays in their favor because teams like them and Detroit right now. Detroit is built to play in a dome. Those guys they have are for a dome. Indianapolis was built the same way with Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning and all those guys. So, I mean, personally, I just like to see all games played on grass. I'm not really a big fan of the turf, but I think like Brian's saying, I think we're moving more towards domes because we're hearing teams talking about getting domes, and I think that just might be the new wave, where it's going to be very few teams actually playing outside. But personally, I prefer grass.
Well, even if like the Raider Stadium is indoors but has natural
Yeah.
grass. So, but to that point, to B's point, you make more money off. You only have so
Yeah.
many games, so many
Right.
football games during the season. You now open up yourself to have a lot more events by having a dome, money, 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 and
Yeah.
everything goes to capitalism. So I'm asking you
Yeah.
guys, just as football fans, if you're a fan of the Niners and they got to go to Philly on the coldest day of the year, would you rather just see those teams play on, grass,
Yeah.
no weather involved, just best team wins?
Well, personally, I believe like the Super Bowl. I don't think the Super Bowl should be some type of everybody gets one. I just never had that mentality. I think Super Bowl should just be in the Bay Area. It should be in LA. It should be in
Warm
Miami. I
weather.
mean, that's where it should be. Yeah, warm
Yeah,
weather
warm weather
on
grass.
grass. I mean, yeah, that's where that's personally my feeling. I know that's not a lot of people's feeling. That's just personally mine because the thing is, no matter what team you have, warm weather on grass, you can still get the best of each other's offense and defense in warm weather
Okay.
and grass.
That's what
Whereas
I was trying to
other
get to.
places, it's not. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's advantageous for other teams depending on the weather.
Yeah, I don't care how many
gotcha.
new stadiums New England builds, they should not have a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I hear
gotcha.
you.
Okay. No, appreciate you guys. Okay, cool. So that's the two games. We'll get to the Super Bowl in a week or so as we get a little closer. We'll wait on that. So with that though, we had New England. Let's slide to that because you mentioned New England. Their former coach, multiple Super Bowl winner. Obviously has to be one of the best coaches in the league to win that many championships and take a team that far. Bill Belichick does not make the Hall of Fame on his first ballot. Thoughts about that?
It's embarrassing. I mean, if you're the NFL Hall of Fame, you should be
Right.
embarrassed. The rumor is that Bill Polian, who's already in the Hall of Fame and has a long-standing rivalry with Bill Belichick, about to say Parcells,
Previous, yeah, previous, yeah.
went around and actively lobbied a bunch of the people who were in the room and basically said, we all know he's going to get in, but it shouldn't be in his first year. He should have to wait, and convinced enough people that he didn't get the 80 plus votes that were necessary out of 100 to get in. The fact that there's anyone who can influence the decisions in that moment like that is embarrassing to the NFL Hall of Fame. They have basically shown that they are corruptible and corrupted. I'm not a huge Bill Belichick fan, excuse me, but there is no argument that he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame given the record and reputation that he created in his time there. So this isn't like we've said before with other things, this isn't something about Bill Belichick, like not liking him or any of that kind of thing. It's just real simple. There are certain people need to be in, and there's certain people need to be out. And then there's a bunch of other people that you have to have debates, and that's why it takes 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 seasons for them to get in. But Bill Belichick is a clear in. He should have been a first ballot. It's sort of like the year that Shaq was going to be the MVP, and there was one person who held the vote just because he wanted not to have a perfect record. Like, this is just as equally ridiculous. And the NFL Hall of Fame should be ashamed of themselves.
Cool.
Yeah, it is embarrassing. It's like the NBA MVP awards, sometimes like the NFL MVP awards. Like I don't care about none of that stuff. For Bill Belichick not to be in the Hall of Fame, he has more Super Bowls than anybody. it's just ridiculous. I'm not a Bill Belichick fan or a New England fan, but I got enough sense to know he should be in the Hall of Fame, just like I had enough sense to know that Terrell Owens should have been on the first ballot Hall of Fame, despite what, media, whatever people think about him. I mean, it's based on what you've done on the field during the time that you played or during the time you coached. And if your stats and whatever you have is number one ever or number two ever, you need to be on the first ballot. It's just plain and simple. So it's I'm not, you guys know I'm not into all these awards or whatever, but here's just another
Yeah,
example of how ridiculous people can be. I mean, this is just stupid. It's basically dumb.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you both. Okay. So we're talking coaches, and we mentioned this before the game. I'm gonna throw out a couple guys that recently got hired. I want to start with you because we mentioned the Bills coach and Sean McDermott gets fired. He's let go of the Bills, and we talked about how coaches get stale or organizations can't move, and you kind of get stuck in a place and they move on. However, they move on from him and promote the offensive coordinator who's clearly there when he was there, and they haven't won. So what were your thoughts on that?
I think for more than one season, probably 2 or 3 seasons, the thing that's been a real problem for the Bills has been roster makeup. There's always talent, but it's never complete across the board, and there's always big holes. It used to be running back. They finally got that figured out with James Cook. Then it was defense, and this year I think it also had to do a lot with wide receivers.
Great.
So the idea that they threw out Sean McDermott and basically said, you're not able to get us over the hump because you aren't coaching this team well enough, and then kept the GM and then promote the offensive coordinator who ran the offense that Sean McDermott was ultimately fired because he couldn't get it over the hump. This seems silly to me. I don't know if Joe Brady's decent. What I feel like happened here is Joe Brady was starting to get a bunch of calls for these other jobs, and they were like, oh well, if someone else wants him, then we should probably just lock him up because we have something that's desirable. I don't think it was well thought out. This is the example of the reason why I think when teams are going to fire coaches, do what you want to do, but you should do it with a plan. And clearly what they decided to do was fire Sean McDermott and then figure out what they were going to do next. Because if they knew that they had the guy in the building, Joe Brady would have never got taken one call because they would have announced that Sean McDermott was leaving and that Joe Brady was stepping into his role in one announcement at one point in time. That's what a strategy looks like. This looks like you got caught with your pants down and we're trying to figure out what to do next. And that was, oh, someone wants to call Joe Brady. I guess we'd like him to. Let's hire him.
The Raiders,
Yeah.
which is funny. Coop?
Yeah, I have a different perspective on this one. This is another firing that I support. They're in neutral, yes, but the reason why I support it is because the roster makeup, every coach has a say in the roster makeup and who your coordinators are, except if you play for the Dallas Cowboys, where Jerry Jones pretty much tells you who your coordinators are and he interferes in draft picks. Every other coach that we've seen get fired or hired, whatever, they have a say in who's on their team. And Sean McDermott is a defensive coach, and his defenses are not good. They routinely let the team down the playoffs, giving up what 30 points a game in each of these playoff games, whatever. The defense is not good. So if you're coaching a side of the ball and your side of the ball isn't good, you have to go. I mean, I don't understand why you want to keep him because the defense let them down against KC when they scored in 12 seconds that one day. I think, Glenn, we were at the Warriors game when that happened. They scored like in 12 seconds, and with Tyreek Hill, it's not supposed to happen. So the defense has routinely let the Bills down. And I agree with Brian. The roster is flawed, but McDermott has a say in that roster, and he's the defensive guy. So if the defense isn't good and you're the defensive guy, you got to go. Now, I don't know how good Joe Brady's going to be, but it's obvious that the offense isn't the problem for the Bills. It's what Brian said. It's the roster makeup. I don't know what he's going to do to get that defense, where it should be. I don't know who he's going to hire, but yeah, I support it. I mean, if your defense can routinely let you down and you're the defensive coach, you got to go. And that defense is small and they got ran over all season. So somebody has to take the fall for that, and it has to be him.
Needed to be the GM
Be
too.
awesome. It'd be awesome to hire Sean McDermott as his DC. That would be awesome. I don't think you'd do that, but that would be hilarious. Let me throw out another guy for you. B, you were like, but Coop had some thoughts. What about Mike McCarthy going to the Steelers? And I don't know if y'all saw his press conference, but he was
got
all
Man.
kinds of like,
Oh man.
I
So
was born here and I had the, so respect. But yeah, Coop, you started
yeah,
and give me your thoughts.
so was Kenny Pickett. He went to Pitt and how that worked out. So look, reading about this is just fascinating to me. So the fans pretty much wanted Tomlin out. They want to see a playoff win before 2030, which I understand. I don't think it was going to happen, but I get it. But management was fine every year, going 8-8, 9-8, 10-7,
Yeah,
and getting beat down
absolutely.
and curb stopped in the first round. They didn't mind getting beat down in the first round every single year because they were not going to bottom out and they had a winning record. So management was absolutely fine with Mike Tomlin. So they get rid of Mike Tomlin. Okay, that's the move I support. Whatever. I'm thinking they're going to get some young, bright offensive mind. And then they bring in Mike McCarthy. I'm thinking, okay, so Mike Tomlin's last Super Bowl appearance was 2011. McCarthy's last Super Bowl appearance was 2011. Both have
2011.
done
Yeah.
nothing. Both have done nothing in the last decade. So you pretty much just hired the same person. If you're going to hire Mike McCarthy, you might as well just kept Mike Tomlin. I don't understand the hire at all. I get he's from Pittsburgh and whatever his press conference is, but the entry point for McCarthy is not like when he was with Green Bay. When he got to Green Bay, Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers was on the roster. Piggybacked off Aaron Rodgers, got a Super Bowl. When Tomlin came in, he piggybacked off of Cowher's roster, won a Super Bowl with Ben Roethlisberger. This is not the same entry point for McCarthy. He doesn't really have a roster,
Uh,
and he doesn't really have that guy at quarterback. So I thought they was going to go with some young offensive mind, and they went with McCarthy. So in my opinion, they should have just kept Mike Tomlin. I don't get this move at all. But Brian, what's your thoughts?
Y'all took two
I
different
think
roads and about to end up at the same place.
exactly. I think first of all, I don't think McCarthy's very good. I haven't thought he's very good for a really long time. I think he fell into his Super Bowl that he got with Green Bay, and ultimately, and people made the same claim about Tomlin. But again, the reaction of the players told me everything I needed to know about Mike Tomlin leaving, and the problem there. And Mike McCarthy is not interesting. The players never seem to particularly like him. If you remember, one of the interesting subplots we'll talk about in a minute is that Aaron Rodgers was not kind about when speaking about him after he initially left Green Bay. And now there's some speculation as to whether or not the reason he got hired in Pittsburgh was because they might be able to get Rodgers to stay for another year. I think that's weird, but like Mike McCarthy, there is zero chance that Mike McCarthy is going to take this team as currently constructed or close to it, because there's
Oh
obviously
yeah,
little
yeah,
changes,
yeah.
and do anything with it in the next few years. So this is yet another one of those teams that made a decision or and made a decision whether Tomlin resigned because of the pressure or the team kind of said do us the favor and resign. I don't know, but they made a decision to move on without the coach, not lobby for him to stay, not work, not give him any type of support when everyone was trying to ouster him, and then had no plan and ended up in exactly the same situation. This is exactly the Bills situation, just a different lipstick, different pig. But there's nothing good that's going to come from this. And this is yet another example of one of these, another one of these teams that jumped, then looked for the parachute, and now they're about to go splat.
Different lipstick, different pig. Boy, boy, boy. That was a bar. Um, I think the only thing I saw was if you're the Steelers, you had three coaches in history. You needed a name, and not saying Mike McCarthy is amazing, but he is a name compared to one of these new guys, like you said, Cooper, young offensive line. You got to hope it works. At least you had a name who has won a Super Bowl, is somebody who has Pittsburgh connections, and seems super honored and very 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 respectful of the opportunity, etc. But I mean, I'm kind of like I don't know if it's going to work, but yeah,
I
to
will
be
tell you
seen.
this: he's going to have the dubious distinction of having the shortest tenure of a
The Steelers
Pittsburgh
coaches.
coach, because there's damn sure no way he's making it 16 years, which is how long Cowher was there. Tomlin was 19, and Noel I think was 21.
No, it was
Um,
forever.
yeah, as long as
Forever.
he
Yeah,
wanted to be there, but 21.
yeah.
Yeah, I'll
21.
be very, very surprised if Mike McCarthy makes it 3. Because if they were
Yeah.
Big.
impatient, if they were impatient with Mike Tomlin, who had the love and admiration of his team like this, and um, you know, always did win, they're going to be real frustrated when they start looking like the Cowboys with these 3 and 4 win teams they're about to put out over the next 4 years.
Yeah, and it's
They got to
like
win a playoff game off top.
yeah, it's such a Pittsburgh move, man. It's just I don't know. I guess they wanted to go safe or something. I don't know, but this guy
That's not
they
safe.
I was reading and they're thinking this guy is some type of quarterback whisperer or whatever. And it's like he didn't whisper in anybody's ear when he was in Green Bay. I don't understand. And he had Dak in Dallas, and yeah, he won a couple of division titles, but he didn't have any playoff success either. So I didn't get the move. I just figured if you're going to hire McCarthy, you can just keep Mike Tomlin, but we'll just see what happens. But I agree with you, Brian. It's going to be the shortest Pittsburgh tenure as a coach.
Yeah.
He's definitely not getting double digits.
Mm,
Did Glenn freeze?
looks like it.
Yeah, I think he freeze. Recording try started by Glenn in this minute. You agree? Yeah. I guess the weather there must be good. But any other coaches any other coaches be
Well,
attracted to your attention?
so since we're trying to make a little space, we might as well talk about some assistant coaches. You and I were talking about it pre-show. Up, you and I were talking about it pre-show. Um, not Mike, Mike McDaniel is now the
Yeah.
offensive coordinator for San Diego. We got two really, really interesting personalities known for being kind of quirky.
Yeah.
How do you think that's going to go?
Man, I think it's going to work out, man, because he knows offense, especially the run game. He's really good. He was Kyle didn't really want to lose this guy. I think it's going to work out for Herbert. And I believe Kellen Moore actually got that position as well to work with Herbert. And then he went to Philly, I think won a Super Bowl, and then got his head coaching position. So he got to work with Herbert and then Jalen Hurts. I think McDaniel is trying to get back to being a head coach, which I understand. I think being with the Chargers could actually help him out with a quarterback like Justin Herbert because he would get a lot of credit if they win just one playoff game because he's never won one, Brian. So, the fact that he wins one, if he even wins two, it'll make his resume look even better. So I'm not saying Mike McDaniel's a head coach. I don't think he's a head coach, but I think it's a good situation for him and Herbert, to be honest with you. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, Mike McDaniel has shown that he knows how to do things in an interesting way. We talked about this. Uh, uh, the head coach, Harbaugh, is known for being more defensive minded, more grinded out, kind of a boring style. One of the
Mhm.
big things that was supposed to be so happy about is that he has Herbert. This gives him an opportunity to, give power to Mike McDaniel and see what he can do. And I'm here for it. Like these are from an offensive coordinator and head coaching situation, these are two extremely interesting personalities that are going to be on the same team, plowing forward with two different styles, but in the same direction. Um,
Yep.
it could work really well. Glenn and the rest of the folks that are in the AFC West may not like the results of this because just as KC is sunsetting, you have a very talented Charger squad finally figuring out how to coach and develop a team right at the time where it's wide open, right? Any team in the AFC West could claim power. It could be Denver, who had a good season this year but didn't really play anyone. It could be the Chargers, and they took their shot. I like what they did here.
Yep. Okay, Alan, let me give you one. Let me get your opinion on this one. Brian Daboll being hired as the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans for Robert Saleh. He has Cam Ward and pretty much, and probably Tony Pollard and pretty much nothing else. And he had success with Josh Allen, which parlayed him that job with the Giants. That was a complete disaster. You got any thoughts on this one? Because I think it's interesting to me that he has Cam Ward and what he can do with that.
I think it's an uphill battle.
Yep.
Like this is not as easy as you might think. You're like, oh, great young quarterback who's promised top, like, yeah, that's all wonderful. But, what Cam Ward has shown is he's a good kid. He's dedicated to the task. He has some talent, but he's not ready. He's not where it needs to be. And
Hmm.
the expectations on Daboll are going to be high. The reality of what he has to work with might not meet that expectation. So it's a tough situation. You might as well give it a shot. It might be interesting, but it may not work out as well as he's hoping.
Yeah, that the Tennessee is just needs an overhaul, man, and they don't really pay coaches that much money anyway. So yeah, I'm with you. It's going to be an uphill battle, but I think if he can win 5 games with Tennessee, I think they only won 3 this year. If he can win 5 or 6, I mean that'll be, I guess, a feather in the cap for him. But I'm with you, man. It's going to be definitely you don't really have much to work with. And I said last year when Cam and Shador were coming out, both of those guys were not ready to start. Now Cam more than Shador, but both those guys should not be starting their rookie year. And we
Yeah.
all know Cam was going to be forced because he was #1 pick, and Shador,
Yeah.
playing for Cleveland, you're going to get some run there too. But I don't know. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. But I'm with you. I'm not expecting success, but I'll be happy to see if it happens.
Expectations are a lot lower than that Charger job you guys are talking about, though. If the
Yeah,
Titans can score, they're going to look like something. But the Chargers already won how many games? So they're going to have to do
yeah.
a lot to make that do something. So, word.
Let me just do one more. Let me just do one more, Glenn. This is going to be real short. The Cleveland Browns hired the Baltimore Ravens offense coordinator Todd Monken. Do you think that's going to change anything with the Browns, Brian?
No, not a
Okay,
damn
me
thing.
either. Okay. All right, move on.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with the Browns. No way. Word up. I think
All right.
that's our show for the week. I got dropped out, hotel internet. I'm gonna blame them. It could be anything, but whatever. So last couple segments. Let's start with hogwash. That was B segment. What's hogwash in the world of sports right now?
Yes, I mean, I don't want to be repetitive, but the Bill Belichick situation is ridiculous. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's so many things that are going on, but that is just horrible at a whole new level. So the NFL Hall of Fame is completely hogwash.
Cool.
Yeah, my hogwash. I mean, it's been hogwash, but I think I never had it as actual hogwash. But it's the Pro Bowl. It's becoming like the college football playoff. Now you're just letting everybody in. Shador, 7 touchdowns and 10 interceptions this year, and now he's a Pro Bowler. I thought it was bad when you had Tyler Huntley in a couple years ago when he had 2 touchdowns and 3 interceptions all season. He was in the Pro Bowl. So now it doesn't really mean anything to be a Pro Bowler anymore. Well, I know when I was growing up and playing John Madden or football, whatever, you see the Pro Bowlers, it actually meant something because they were actually, let me think, good players on the Pro Bowl roster, and now they're just putting anybody on there. So the Pro Bowl roster is now just trash. So that's hogwash.
I think it's kind of what you're saying, though, is that like who wants to play? Who's going to go? So if you start looking at the AFC rosters and how many quarterbacks they had, I saw this thing on like you start putting out the guys that didn't play all that great. You start putting out the guys that were injured. You start putting out the guys who are in the playoffs. You start putting out the guys who don't want to play. It's literally Cam Ward or Shador.
Right. So this
So
is what you do. This is what you do, Glenn, to combat that. Just have a Pro Bowl roster, and that's it. These guys like Shador and stuff can replace somebody, but they're not considered a Pro Bowler. You got your Pro Bowl roster, and then that's it. You're
the other
not a
guys,
Pro
yeah.
Bowler. You know what I
I
mean?
think, like you said, though, it don't matter. Like none of us care, bro, at
Right.
all.
Right. Right.
We ain't.
Right.
We never. I ain't watched no pro. It's one of those things that it's Sunday, and like if I'm at home sitting, I'm like, oh, let me put this on for a minute, and I do something else
You know
while
what
it's in the background.
the only problem that I have with it is that I got to listen to some sicko fans go, but he made the Pro Bowl. Like,
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
but there's literally nobody else who could have gone. So,
Yeah, I don't think anybody cares about it. So word. I don't got one game ball coop for sports excellence. What you got?
Yeah, I got 2 game balls. I'm gonna give it to both New England and I'm gonna give it to Seattle. This is what happens when you don't operate like the Pittsburgh Steelers and just go in neutral. You make changes. New England got Mac Jones. Mac Jones got Belichick fired. Belichick is gone. Mac Jones is gone. They bring in a new quarterback, Drake May. Bring in Gerard Mayo. Gerard Mayo is a complete disaster. The team played like they didn't even practice. He's out of there. Vrabel comes in there, and now they're winning. This is what you do when you just don't hold on to coaches and quarterbacks forever just to do it and you definitely don't see any progress. That's what New England did. They didn't stand pat. They did something about it, and look at where they're at right now. I didn't expect it, but good for them in Seattle. They got rid of Russell Wilson because Pete Carroll blamed everything on him, and he was kind of right. Then Pete Carroll was the problem. They got rid of him. Then they bring in Mike McDonald, who was an excellent defensive coordinator for Baltimore, and I still think that was their year to win the Super Bowl that one year. They had home field advantage. That team was really good. Mike McDonald got Geno Smith, and then he got rid of him. He realized there was a ceiling there, got Sam Darnold, continued to draft well during the Geno Smith years, gave Sam Darnold a team, Now they're in the Super Bowl. He's the right quarterback for a system. Now in the Super Bowl. So this is what you do. You get a quarterback, you get a coach. When something ain't working, you get rid of them and get somebody else and try something till it works. And that's what these two teams did. So they both get my game ball. Now they're in the Super Bowl.
I think it's always funny that your team picked up Mac Jones. But go ahead, B.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've also got two, but it's Matt Stafford and Sam Darnold. Both of those folks played an outstanding game. I mean, pretty close to flawless on both sides. And had it gone the other way, I wouldn't think anything less of how Darnold played, and so I wouldn't take anything away from Stafford because he was on the other side of on this game. So both of them.
Oh, good one. Oh, you already got it. And then last 1 minute to win it. Just thanks everybody for listening. Appreciate you all for checking us out. We'll be back at the Super Bowl preview next week and eventually talking basketball as Coop has a Lakers hat on. Coop, what you got?
Yeah, I got nothing. Same thing as you. Thanks everybody for listening who supports us. And please, questions on YouTube. Please put them on YouTube so we can answer them on the podcast. Go ahead,
Definitely
B.
appreciate it. B, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say yet again, I mean, it's actually been happening over the weekend. My heart goes out to the people in Minnesota who are showing up in force. When I tell you it is cold, it is cold. It is -2 before wind chill, and getting into like the -25s and 30s. And these people, 50,000 strong in some instances, are marching through streets, protesting peacefully, responsibly, doing the right thing the right way in the absolute worst conditions imaginable because they know that it's the right thing to do. This is what what it looks like to have a grassroots movement. And while I am not there with them, my heart is out there for them.
Sports Counterpoints, January 28th, 2026. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next time.